when I'm teaching, I want my students to watch me make mistakes because I want them to see that it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Kelly Buchanan is a maternity photographer who specializes in capturing postpartum euphoria. Her work emphasizes on the beauty of the journey into parenthood and preserves the most intimate and important moments of a family.
I once attended a class. The speaker had said, "You are not your client's friend." And I got up and walked out of the class. You're entrusting me with the most precious piece of your family that you'll ever, have. And so I very much need to be your best friend.
You think that photographers want to keep their skill to themselves and they're not willing to share because...
Yeah, a lot of gatekeepers.
Yeah, that's the misconception, but in reality, mostly everybody is here to help each other out. Hi, welcome again to Peculiar Conference 2024. My name is Giancarlo. I'm the host of the Outspoken Artist, and I'm here with Kelly Buchanan. How are you?
Good.
Now that I've corrected my mistake, you're a wonderful maternity photographer. Tell me about what drew you to that particular niche.
I lost steam on what I was doing, just kind of getting caught up in all of the world of photography, and headed to a conference in 2021. Was like, look, if I don't find something I absolutely love, we're just going to sell the equipment and be done. I just wasn't loving what I was producing. It just kind of seemed like it was a 9 to 5, honestly. And you can make more money at that rate, right? So I took a Kelly Brown class, absolutely fell in love with her work and the genre, and specifically went into newborn for that reason, but still wanted to have like this insanely cool creative side to things, which is where maternity came in, because I get to play. It's essentially like a playground for me to do maternity. Right. So, I get to really like mine my craft and my technical skill with newborn, and then get to explore my creative side with maternity.
Can you tell me of a time that you had a very memorable moment with a session for a newborn or maternity?
Oh goodness, we've had a lot. So one of the things that I absolutely love about this specific genre, and dealing with this intimate part of families, is they're entrusting you with their family memories, right? You're watching their families grow, and lots of my clients start with me with one child, and we watch the entire feed, and they grow together. And creating those stories for them often sometimes leads to a little bit of heartbreak at times. You get to spend a lot of time with them. But those are really hard moments. So I have a formal background in social work. And so I like to bring that element forth. So as a military wife, we move around a lot. And when we were in Germany, keeping up with everything I wanted to do client-wise wasn't always an option. So I was a now you leave me day to see for the hospital. And some people are like, wow, that's kind of a crazy answer to that question. Yeah. But to me, to put yourself in the shoes of people and their heartache, as well as watching their happy memories, creates a bond with my clients that I don't think anybody else can touch.
No, I would agree. That connection wouldn't be there if you had not gone through that. And I mean, they're so little.
Yeah.
The babies are so little. So I have some friends that do maternity as well, and I see literally these tiny little creatures. Just anything. They're entrusting you with the most precious thing in life.
They are.
And do you find normally that as they start to get older, do they want you to also photograph them for family portraits and things like that?
Yeah, so we offer a package called a Grow With Me that we discuss with them. And so we watch babies grow all the way through the milestones and things like that. And I prefer to keep my clients as close as possible. One, so they don't wander off on me. But two, I just genuinely love being part of them. I once attended a class, and the speaker had said, "You are not your client's friend." And I got up and walked out of the class.
That's not a good approach.
At the end of the day, I need to be their friend. Yeah. You're entrusting me with the most precious piece of your family that you'll ever, have. And so I very much need to be your best friend. So yeah. So we like to, all the family moments, the baptisms, all of those things, I tend to go in and photograph those as well, just so that we always stay close and you see all those moments.
No, of course. So we talked about memorable. What is a challenging situation that you had to deal with that, photography comes in all shapes and sizes and you're tackling
Oh,
something very sensitive. So could you tell me of a time that you're presented with a challenge?
yeah. Right now the world is really difficult. We've got everybody's got an opinion. Social media is always putting pressure down on us. Um, I've definitely had a recent situation where mom and dad just weren't on the same page as to the colors that were going to be incorporated. We go through extensive consults and conversations beforehand, and usually they're with mom, but I tend to like to have both parents involved. Most of the time, dad's,
Right.
they're not really 100% on board with whatever color we choose. They're just like, yeah, it's great. But we get to the session, I have everything set out. I like to have my sets set before the parents come. That way they can physically view them before we start. Um, I get into the session, I'm working, and dad just kind of jumps up and is like, I don't like this. I don't like this set. Um, he thought it was like a little bit too feminine and didn't really care for it. And they kind of started going at it. At one point, I had to ask them to leave or step out of the studio so that I could finish the session. Um, and they resolved it outside of the studio, came back in fresh. But I don't tend to tolerate a lot of BS when it comes to being in. One, I need to keep the environment calm for the babies.
Right.
We have a pretty strict regimen. We put babies through the beginning of the day. Um, and so if you bring that tension in, you'd be so surprised how much those babies react to that. If I'm stressed, you're stressed, there's too much going on, they're very much not going to settle for me.
No, agreed. Agreed. It just people feed off the energy that comes in babies.
Yeah. Well, I have so many parents that come in, they're like, "Oh no, they're great. They're great sleepers. They're gonna sleep the whole time." And I'm like, "Oh, don't say that too loud." Because sure enough, they will hear you and they will give me hell.
Don't jinx the whole situation. Right. Tell me, Kelly, what brings you here to Peculiar? Besides, obviously, to talk to him.
So I'm an ambassador with Aftershoot. So I'm here with them today. But again, back in 2021, I fell in love with education. It was actually Sandra. She had went to WPPI the year before me, and she was like, "Hey, I think you need to come. Like, I think you need to come out, attend a conference, invest in some education, see what it's all about." So they came out with her in total panic mode, like absolute panic mode. I'm not a technical person. I really don't do well with technology at all, honestly. And I tend to get in my head a lot. Imposter syndrome is a real thing in my life. And here I am surrounded by all these amazing photographers. Um, and I remember we were actually at a photo walk with Sean Laura. And he comes and he has like all these lights, as an off-camera flash, right? And I was like strictly a natural light photographer at that time, but like that's kind of what I wanted to like figure out if I wanted to get into. So I'm like, okay, we get there and she like runs off on me. And I'm like, what do I do? She ran off on me. Like, how am I gonna like, I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna go back to the hotel. This isn't for me. Like total panic mode, right? And a friend we were with was like, no, pause. Just go up and try it. Like, just try it. And I'm like, no, all these people knew what they were doing. Like, they were like, seemed so confident in the process. Right. And then you have Sean, who has like the best personality, right? When it
Right.
comes to these things. Like, he's just so bubbly about it. And I'm like, no, I'm going to look dumb. I'm going to look terrible. And they're like, no, just go. Just one shot. Just take one shot. And I remember that shot. And I was just like, oh my God, I took that picture. So I come to these conferences, yeah, because we're repping and we're learning, we're doing all these things. But I now have such an appreciation for education that I didn't have. And people often will say, hey, if there's one thing you could do over in your career as a photographer, what would you do? And hands down, every time my answer is I would invest sooner. Because if I had had that instilled confidence in me sooner, I couldn't imagine where I'd be right now, right? So now imposter syndrome still comes and goes, but it has visited less often since I've been around amazing people that support me and love me and learning next to them and seeing everything they do. And now I teach. So that's why we're here.
It's crazy how it all turns
Right?
around. And it started with taking that class on maternity, and now you're taking other classes. Definitely, no, you're fine. By all means, you're fine. And I highly recommend it. To your point, education is one of the things that
Yeah.
you think that photographers want to keep their skill to themselves, and they're not willing to share because
Yeah. A lot of gatekeepers.
yeah, that's the misconception. But in reality, mostly everybody is here to help each other out. At least from what I come across, for the most part. Let me see. Oh my God, where can people find your work?
People can find my work on my Instagram page, upclosephotography.kb. And on Facebook, currently the website's down. But we're rebuilding. We're getting there. Don't tell Keisha I said that. He'll yell at me. But yeah, but I honestly don't rock at social media, but it's on there. You get the gist of it.
I know we have some friends that really are kicking butt, going viral and whatnot.
I know, right?
I know. I'm so happy for them though, because breaking that mark and then things going viral, it's so beneficial. It's just like, it's badass.
Right,
It really
right.
is
And some
badass.
people do absolutely great at it. For me, it's like a toxic, like I'll get like in these moods where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post, but I have to schedule them out because if I don't do it all at once, I'm not getting back on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody looking to start in the maternity and newborn, what are some tips that you can give them if somebody wants to try to see if it's their thing or not? What are some helpful tips?
So one of the things I do is I run an education platform called Baby Steps, Lighting, Posing, and More with Kelly Marie. I started that page because I felt like in the world of education, there isn't a lot in this niche that has to do with starting. And one of the things I am absolutely most passionate about in this is the safety of our newborns.
Of course.
People underestimate how much these newborns will communicate with us. And if you don't know what you're looking for, it's very, very easy to hurt these babies. So I offer very, very inexpensive education just for that. So if I was giving anybody advice on what to step into, it would take a safety education course. Just let me teach you how to look for all the little signs and things that babies will tell you to keep them safe. You know, you can't just throw a baby in a bucket and that's
Right.
how this works.
And what was the name of that website again?
Baby Steps, Lighting, Posing, and More with Kelly Marie.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Guys got that. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. We may talk later too. I think I'm going to start bringing people
Yeah.
like around too. And like, yeah, because once we work all the kinks in regards to like the live streaming and excited, spring on board and then maybe.
I mean, I think one of the things that drew me to doing this podcast with you is how willing you are to admit that there's mistakes going on.
Oh yeah.
Again, like you said, like there's a lot in this world of like, oh, you know, everything I take is perfect or everything I do is, you know, looks just like this. But that's another thing that was really attractive to me about the conference world is you get to see in live time these photographers make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm teaching, I want my students to watch me make mistakes because I want them to see that it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Right. It's a humbling experience.
It is.
Anyway, it
It
really
very
is.
much is.
And
Yeah.
sometimes like I bought this thinking it'll work. It didn't work. I had to change streaming platforms because I couldn't live stream the correct way literally yesterday.
Oh my God.
I know. So again, I like that. I never thought about it that way. For me, it's just trying to get it to work better.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, again, some people experience imposter syndrome way different. But for me, I just like had this idea. I remember sitting next to Sandra in a class at that first WBBI and thinking, I can't get that photo because I have a different camera and my camera isn't as good. It was actually a Jonathan Thorpe class. And then all of a sudden he had like this projection of pictures like on a screen. And it like below he had like all the tagged equipment that he had used. And one of the pictures was with the same camera that I had. And I remember her elbowing me and being like,
Yeah. No, it really is just a matter of learning how to control light being the big thing.
Yeah.
And then just composition and trial and error.
right.
I do want to actually, since you are wearing this shirt, tell me about after shoot.
Yeah.
Rep after shoot.
A rep, it's an easy rep. It really is. So Aftershoot is a AI calling and editing service. You probably are very aware of our logo, the unicorn being
I wonder why.
astronaut riding a unicorn. You really can't miss it. So essentially what it is, it's a program to save you time. One of the cool things about the program is it actually tells you how much time it'll save you, right? So I will often, like, even on the way here, right? I'll open up the program because it's offline. I'll upload 3 or 4 galleries, hit call, hit edit, and then just let it go while I listen to a podcast or do whatever. It's going to go through and it's going to call all of that gallery. And what it's doing is after you pick your specifications, right? What genre of photography you're using, whatever, it's going to go through and it's going to pick the best of every set of photos that you have taken, right? So you're never going to miss an image. You have every chance to go back and review those, right? But the whole point of the program is the more you use it and the more you tell it how you shoot and what you shoot, the more it gets to know you, right? Because it's AI. So it's there to cater to you as a photographer. It's not a blanket that's just going to do the same thing for everyone.
Right.
So utilizing it and customizing it to you is the best advantage you have. So go through, get those, review those calls, and then I send them right into edit, right? I edit with the same profile that I created every single time. And that way, every single one of my images are cohesive. So how it's doing that is, people are like, how does this differ from a profile on Lightroom? I say, think about a blanket, right? If you put a filter or a blanket on top of everyone gets the same amount of heat, right? And it doesn't matter what your individual body temperature was before you're under that blanket, right? What Aftershoot is doing is editing the metadata of the image. So it's going through and analyzing where your settings are on every single image and adjusting all of your individual settings that you set for your profile to every image.
Wow.
And that way, you're not blowing out light in one image because it was a little bit darker than the other.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Especially just the time that you save doing that. And there was a recent feature that I think I saw now, especially around editing, right? Because before, I know that it's gone through different iterations, but the newest feature with the editing, what is that doing now? Is that what you're talking about, editing the metadata in the back end?
No, I mean, that's just our editing in general, but the newest features that came out were the auto white balance. So detecting where it's too bright, where it's too dark, and auto adjusting that for you, auto cropping, straightening your images for you, all of those little things. And you can turn those toggles on and off as you wish. But one thing that I've really, really liked about it as a studio photographer is that I have learned exactly my settings to shoot in my studio so that every image comes out perfect after I have to shoot edits it.
That's pretty neat.
Like on the back end of it, it's actually taught me something of like, okay, this is where all of my setting needs to be. So this profile works perfectly every time.
That's fantastic. Because I see Aftershoot obviously being used for weddings,
Yeah.
but also events. But for studio work, I didn't even think about it that way. That's good. That's good. For the peculiar attendees, are there any special things that Aftershoot is doing? Is there a free trial or anything?
We're doing the editing lab, so we're in there. We always have the free trial. There's no credit card required, no sign up required to go in there. So you always have your free trial. And then we're hoping people bring in their laptops, bring in your computers, bring in your laptops to us. We are going to hands-on get you into the program, get you started, show you on your own images what this looks like. Because when you first download it, you don't have your own profile and things. You can use any of the marketplace ones. There's a few in there that are completely free, and then you can also test out some of our creators' profiles for free as well.
It's pretty neat.
Figure out what you like.
Awesome. And Kelly, one more time, where can people find you on social media and
Upclosephotography.kb. The website will be soon. It'll be the same thing now.
Okay.
But yeah, upclosephotography.kb.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you for joining me. I had a great time, even though we had a whole episode before this was started. That it's all good. Kelly, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.